How is it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Down podcast, where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. Today, we are back with our weekly segment, Fan Mail Friday, answering your guys' questions before the Bears take on the Green Bay Packers tomorrow, or Green Bay Packers on Sunday, week 6, big rivalry game. We're going to answer all your guys' questions in this episode. Before we get into it, though, we're trying to post Bears content every day of the week. We've been posting videos each and every day this week and are going to keep it up throughout the weekend. So if you want Bears content every day of the week, wherever you may be listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, do us a favor, drop a like, follow, subscribe, and we're going to keep bringing you guys content each and every day. Welcome back to the show, though, guys. Feels good to be back once again. I am your host, Chris Malpe. Today, to talk Bears Packers yet again, I am joined with my co-host, Parth Shaw. Parth, how's it going, my man?
Doing pretty good. It's a nice little Friday. It's nice to have the weekend coming up. A lot of football this weekend, obviously with college football tomorrow and the NFL on Sunday. And yeah, just excited to just watch some games this weekend and just relax.
Yeah, big weekend. Iowa, Purdue, Michigan State, IU in the Big Ten for you and I. Pretty good slate of Sunday NFL games. Browns, Cardinals, Ravens, Chargers, Bears, Packers, obviously. Titans, Bills on Monday Night Football. Had a pretty good game last night with the Eagles and the Buccaneers. So should be a fun weekend. It's been kicking off very nicely. I'm heading back to Chicago to go to the game. So should be a lot of fun. But yeah, Parth, let's get right into this. This first question comes from only_Tommy68 on Instagram. He says, do you think Khalil Herbert can put the run game on his back? Obviously, the Bears missing David Montgomery in this one. He's out for a couple more weeks. Damian Williams, Matt Nagy said it's highly unlikely that he plays in this one. He went down with COVID, and he did test positive, so seems like he's not going to get off the reserve COVID list in this one. So the Bears are left with Artavis Pierce, who they brought back to the practice squad, who you'd assume would be activated, Ryan Nall, preseason legend, and then Khalil Herbert, the rookie out of Virginia Tech. So, Parth, we saw some good carries from Herbert in the Week 5 game against the Raiders. I believe he compiled 75 rushing yards and had 4.2 yards per carry. So, overall, heading into this Week 6 matchup against the Packers defense, that's a little bit hampered. What do you expect out of him?
I'm expecting a pretty solid game out of Herbert, especially with how the Bears have been running the ball so far. The Bears haven't had many troubles getting the run game going. We saw Montgomery early on in the season when he was healthy. We were able to use him really effectively. And then last week when Montgomery wasn't there, we were able to use Herbert for 75 yards and 18 carries. And Damian Williams also had around 60-plus yards and a touchdown. Obviously, Williams will be out, but Herbert by himself, I guess backed up by Nall and Pierce. I still trust him. I think Bill Lazor's done a really good job at using the running backs, trying to get them the holes they need. And Herbert himself has very good vision. I thought I saw that last week when he was able to get some good cuts on plays where it seemed like the offensive line wasn't able to get leverage on the D-line, and he was able to cut back and find some motion and gain some positive yards. And that's what you want to see out of a running back. Just try to get positive yards every time. And I think Herbert's going to be able to do that against this Green Bay Packers defense, who's had a pretty tough time stopping the run. I think they're allowing around 100-plus yards in that category as well. So the Bears should definitely pound the ball with Herbert, especially after what I saw last week. And on 18 carries, I wouldn't be surprised if he got 20-plus carries this weekend.
Yeah, I think if you go back to the beginning of the regular season, if we were told that by week 6, not only Damian Williams, but David Montgomery as well were going to be hurt, and we were going to be relying on a rookie running back to be our bell cow back, I think I would have laughed in your face. But, I think Herbert is going to be the bell cow back this weekend. You mentioned it. I went to training camp throughout the entirety of the summer. I really liked his vision and his patience. I think this is the breakout game for him, if I'm being completely honest. I said it after the Week 5 win. I wouldn't mind the Bears reassessing him and possibly moving him to running back 2 as we move forward. I love what I saw out of Damian Williams last week, but I think Herbert really does deserve the reps with Tariq Cohen being out and David Montgomery obviously not being there. So once Montgomery's back, maybe you stick Herbert at running back 2 now that you have Jakeem Grant returning punts and kickoffs. But I expect that he'll be able to put the run game on his back. It helps that Green Bay doesn't have Zadarius Smith. And overall, I think it'll be a pretty nice game for him. We saw the Jordan Howard breakout game a couple of years ago around this time when he was a rookie. I remember I was at the game. It was a Halloween game against the Vikings. So a couple of years later, it would be fitting for a Bears running back to break out against a division rival. So overall, I'm actually not too worried about the run game. The Bears have been favoring the run. Justin Fields, I believe, has only thrown the ball 40 times in the last 2 games. So the Bears are going to continue to favor that run. And I trust that Herbert will be able to get it going. Justin Fields hopefully can get the RPO going as well. We haven't really seen that kickoff yet. But I think the run game will be consistent. I don't think the Bears will become one-dimensional in this one, and that only helps the passing offense and a rookie quarterback like Justin Fields. Next question here, moving on from Yellow 6. He says, how many yards do you think we can hold Davante Adams to if the Packers move him all over the field? It seems like he could be attacking slot cornerbacks like Shelley and Marquis Christian and Kindle Vildor. Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer this one first. It's tough to stop Davante Adams.
Yeah.
He's a top 3 wide receiver in the league. Whether he's on Jaylen Johnson the entire game or on Kindle Vildor or on Duke Shelley, it's going to be tough stopping him. So I'm going to predict that Davante Adams has over 100 receiving yards and a touchdown in this one. And there's not really much of a doubt in my mind in this one. The Bears have done a really good job at getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks, rushing 4 men. They've only blitzed on 15.7% of their defensive snaps, and that's 29th in the league. But they lead the league in sacks. So the Bears can't really be a team can't afford to be a team that's blitzing a ton just because of the weaknesses in their secondary. So I think Davante Adams will definitely carve out his nice spot in this Bears defense, and that's not knocking Jaylen Johnson or Kindle Vildor or anyone, but it's Davante Adams. I mean, Parth, what do you expect out of him this weekend?
Yeah, he's coming off a game where he had over 200 yards against the Bengals. I was surprised when I just looked at it. He had 206 yards off of 11 catches and a touchdown against the Bengals last week. Wouldn't be surprised if he goes over 100 yards and a touchdown. That's what he does. And him and Aaron Rodgers' connection has gotten so good over the last couple of years. The way they started off and the way they are now is just automatic. And it's fun to watch when they're not playing your team. Obviously, when they play the Bears, it's not as fun to watch them connect with each other. But hopefully the Bears are able to stop that. That connection is deadly. And if that gets out of hand, that can definitely impact the game.
Yeah, and we haven't seen much explosiveness from the Packers offense outside of Davante Adams.
Yeah,
Obviously,
exactly.
they've got Aaron Jones, but their offense overall ranks 22nd, which is definitely low for that Green Bay unit that's coming off of an NFC Championship appearance. So overall, Davante Adams, man, he's going to continue to eat regardless of who he's playing. It wouldn't even have to be the Bears, and I'd give him a prediction of having another great game. Let's head to this next question from Fetty8888. 48. Yes, that is correct. He said, seems like Green Bay secondary is going to be banged up this weekend. Can we exploit them in the passing game at all? You know, honestly, I expected the Bears to have a really big passing game last week, and we saw them become more reliant on the run. We saw Trayvon Mullen and Damon Arnett out for the Raiders, and Justin Fields made some good plays in the passing game, but overall the Bears were more reliant on the run. I think the Bears are going to have to stretch the field vertically if they want to give themselves a chance to win this one. So I do think we can exploit Green Bay's banged-up secondary. Jair Alexander, one of the best cornerbacks in the league, he's on injured reserve. Kevin King, their second cornerback, who was already having some issues in and of itself, he's going to be out in this one as well. So it seems like we're lined up to have Eric Stokes, the rookie out of Georgia, on Allen Robinson. And I got to be completely honest, I have pretty good knowledge of the NFL, but I have no clue who's going to be guarding Darnell Mooney, Marquise Godwin, and the guys below him. So, excuse me, but overall, I do think the Bears will be able to exploit this secondary. I think they're going to have a high-flying offense in this one and continue to incorporate the run game if they want to give themselves a chance to win this game. So overall, I actually am pretty confident that the Bears wide receivers will be able to win their matchups. We've been looking for Allen Robinson to have a breakout game so far this season. We've seen Stokes play pretty good so far, but he's also definitely had some rookie moments, so I am confident that the Bears will be able to have a pretty good passing game in this one. Parth, you know, we've seen the Bears so far limit Justin Fields in his opportunities to pass. The Bears are coming in 3-2 in this one. There's going to be the lead spot in the NFC North on the line in this game. And you'd assume with Aaron Rodgers and how he's able to pick apart the Bears defense that the Bears offense is going to have to put up some points in this one. We see Green Bay secondary banged up. Do you think Chicago will look to take advantage of that?
They have to. It's got to be in the game plan going into the week. When you see Kevin King listed as cornerback 1 and Allen Robinson's going to be, I guess, covered by
Kevin
him.
King hurt. Eric Stokes listed as cornerback 1.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh, you didn't see? I just said this. You're not focusing what I'm talking about, man.
No, I
Yeah,
would.
no. Kevin King's out in this one.
So that secondary is very banged up. The Bears definitely have to take advantage with Alexander out and King out. Now you have to attack that secondary with Mooney and Allen Robinson. I think Allen Robinson needs to have his first breakout game of the season. It's been way too long since we've seen Allen Robinson have a good game or even a big game for the Bears. I think the way we've been using him is not the way he should be properly used. A lot of short yard routes for Robinson. I want to see him go deep, take some corners. I think that's what he's good at. Those contested catches. Let Fields air it out. You got to trust the quarterback. You traded up to draft him at the 11th pick. There's a reason why the Bears made that decision, because they thought he was the quarterback of the future, and you got to let him do things that he's going to be able to do in the future right now, because there's no better game to do it. This game is very important to the Bears. The schedule only gets tougher, and to have a lead in the division 6 games into the season would be very, very big, especially a big win over the Packers. That's going to basically,
it's a confidence booster
it's
heading
such a
into Tampa
confidence
Bay. That's
booster,
going to have
exactly.
another banged up secondary with Richard Sherman going down last night. So
that secondary is very banged up. I mean, we'll talk about them next week, obviously, but this Packers secondary is also banged up. I think the Bears definitely got some chances to take advantage, especially with. I mean, last week we played another banged up secondary. If anything, this is just helping Justin's growth out, and I think the coaches need to use that as an advantage and like help him even take more advantage of these weaker secondaries and weaker players.
Yeah, you got to get the play action implemented. You got to let him roll outside the pocket and extend plays. That's what Justin Fields does. But the Bears are really heading into death row now of a couple of really tough games. Green Bay, Tampa Bay, a tough 49ers team, Steelers, Ravens, Cardinals. Our schedule doesn't really lighten up here for about 2 months after this week. So, you're going to have to air it out deep. Allen Robinson had 12 games of over 70 receiving yards in 2020. This season, he hasn't had a single one. He's only recorded 1 touchdown. I think that's been his only solid game so far, was in week 2 against the Bengals. So if you could get him going in this game, yeah. If you could get Allen Robinson going in this game, it could be consequential in terms of how this game plays out. And overall, just let Justin Fields throw, man. One more question before we sign off here. This one's from Ethan Gustafson, 19. He says, what do you guys think Justin Fields' stat line will look like? As much as I want to predict him having a big game, we haven't seen him do it so far. So I'm not going to get overzealous as much as I want to and be a homer and all that. I try and be realistic as possible. I'm going to give Fields 2 touchdowns in this one. I think Khalil Herbert also adds maybe 1 on the ground. I'm going to go 2 passing touchdowns for Fields. I think he does find some more success throwing the ball. I'm going to go around 250 passing yards. We've seen him have 2 solid weeks in a row where he hasn't turned the ball over and gotten some pretty solid passing yards. Not the best fantasy football quarterback, but I'm going to go 250 passing yards, 2 touchdowns through the air for Fields. Maybe he adds 1 on the ground. I'm not going to predict that, but I do believe he'll be an important piece in Chicago's rushing attack, just with how hampered they are at the running back position. But I think it's a solid game for Fields. You obviously will find out my pick tomorrow. And if you watched last night, you can hear what team I picked to win. But I'm going to go, 252 touchdowns. And he definitely adds some yards on the ground as well. Parth, anything to add here?
I hope he gets more than 20 attempts at throwing the ball. Just looking at his stats right now, the most he's thrown the ball so far, it was against Vegas and the Browns when he had 20 attempts. So hopefully the Bears are going to air it out more. Obviously, like we said, the Packers have a weaker secondary. So I'm hoping the Bears use Justin Fields. I mean, I'm not hoping for like 30 passes, maybe 25, 24, something like that. But I think I can see him ending around 225 yards, a touchdown through the air, and a touchdown through the ground. I think he's going to have to use his legs a little bit more this game, especially with Montgomery and Damian Williams out. I think the Bears will be calling a little bit more plays for him to run, especially because last week he was a little banged up early on. So hopefully, when he's a little healthier coming into this game and can use his speed to his advantage, because we definitely will need that in the red zone this weekend.
Well, man, imagine, and I've been getting clowned on this for Twitter all week, but imagine how crazy Chicago would go this weekend if Justin
Oh,
Fields leads the Bears to a win over the Packers. The city
I
might
mean,
burn down, and you might be saying you guys are over exaggerating, but
you're
the
not.
Bears have never had historical success beating the Packers. So if this 11th overall pick can come in and do it,
Anytime we beat the Packers, the city goes wild. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean,
exactly. Oh
I think
yeah,
it's been four games since we beat them, and the track record says
yeah.
we win
20. What
every
was that?
four.
2018 NFC. The 2018 in Chicago when Eddie
Yeah,
Jackson intercepted Rodgers at the end of the game
second
to
it was
clinch the
week
NFC Championship.
15 or 14, I believe, in 2018. But since then, we haven't won, and before that was I think 2016. So it happens every around 2 to 3 years. So I think the Bears are due. The Bears are definitely due. It's at Soldier Field.
I was gonna say I'll give them a much better shot to win at Soldier Field than I will when they go to Green Bay.
Exactly. Get
Week
the home
12, of
crowd
course, it's on Sunday Night Football. We always play the Packers on Sunday Night Football. We have
at
like the past
and
4
at
years
Lambeau Field
at
too.
Lambeau. It's just a recipe for disaster. But the Bears will definitely have a fighting chance in this one. Should be an interesting game. And our Week 6 coverage is going to continue tomorrow with our pregame show. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to Fan Mail Friday. If you haven't already, drop a like, subscribe, follow wherever you may be listening. If you want more content from us, head to our website, beardown.com. If you want to follow the podcast on social media, you can stay in the loop with what we're working on. We're also giving away a Justin Fields jersey really soon. So head to our social media at Bear Down on Instagram and Twitter to enter those giveaways. And finally, you can find man, I'm burnt out. I've been talking forever. And this is only the first podcast we're recording on the day. But finally, if you want to find us on social media, the links to our pages are in the description on Instagram and Twitter. You can see our thoughts on all things Bears, the National Football League, and the entirety of Chicago sports. Once again, just another great way to stay in the loop with us and interact with us. But Parsha, we're getting closer, about just under 48 hours here until kickoff. I'm starting to get a little antsy. Looks like about 44 and a half hours if I'm being exact. But any last words before we sign off here?
I'm excited for this one. I think the Bears are going to put up a fighting chance. And then obviously tomorrow we get some college football. Nothing else. Enjoy your guys' weekend, and yeah, bear down.
Yeah, a lot of fun football this weekend. If the Bears could somehow win, man, this would be quite the weekend. But I think they're also going to have a fighting chance. Bears, Packers, there's always just something extra that's added to the rivalry, and we're in for a good one this weekend. Guys, it's been a pleasure to be your host. Once again, my name is Chris Malpe, and Bears fans, as always, do us a favor and stay safe and bear down. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.